really building upon using numbers to represent information. Still, they're providing kind of an easy access tool for your students. So here I made a little simple scale, and you can see how each of the puzzle pieces snaps together. And so there's, and so the thing is, if you take one thing away from this presentation, I want it to be this: start with sounds. I've done a lot of outreach programs with students, and I'm like, oh, you know, and then I snap these pieces together. What do you think happens? And they say, I bet they happen at the same time. And as a computer scientist, think, no, these happen one after the other. And with the sounds, it's really obvious, right? That note 60 plays, then 62, then 64, then 65. It's obvious. But when I say, tell my character to move forward 10 pixels, and tell my character to turn right 15 degrees. It all happens so quickly on the computer that your students can't figure out that it happens at separate times. It happens sequentially. Okay, so the meta piece is start with sounds to show that scripts run sequentially. Totally essential, because I've worked with students before I realized this, and they have 5 or 6 blocks put together in a script, and they're staring at it, and they're like, there's just no way I could possibly make sense of what this is doing. And that makes sense if they think that it all happens sequentially. Start with sounds. Okay. So another thing you can do in Scratch is I can tell my sprite, my character, I can tell them to move around. And so here I'm using commands like move 200 steps, which is really just 200 pixels. And I can tell it to turn right 90 degrees. So here in general, I'm giving it a coordinate to go to, and I'm saying pen down, which means my character is holding a pen, and when I tell it to put a pen down, it drags it along the ground wherever it goes and draws a line. So it provides an audit trail of all of the instructions you've given the character. So here I've got the C on the side, so these hug the things that they're going to repeat. A common misconception is they say, well, I want to move 200 steps and turn right 90 degrees, and I want to repeat that 4 times. Many students are going to say, so that means I do it 5 times. Which is a really sensible thing. Oh, Colleen, do a jumping jack. Okay, now repeat that 2 times. Okay, well, that means I do 3 jumping jacks. Okay, so I think it's a really sensible way that a student would interpret that. Oh. A really sensible way that the student would interpret a command like repeat, but isn't the way that the programming language works. So what this would draw is I have my little fish, and it would draw a square. Okay? You can kind of picture, right? I move forward 200 pixels, I turn right 90 degrees, I move forward 200 pixels, I turn right 90 degrees. So this is kind of like interesting connections to some of the mathematical content that you might want your students to be developing in middle school, etc. Here's my next misconception. Turn right 360 degrees. Well, I just drew a square, and when I ask a student, say, well, how would you draw a circle? They say, well, circles are 360 degrees, so I think that this will draw a circle for me. Right? It's going to draw 360 degrees as a circle, right? Very rational to think that that's how it happens, but it's really important, and students have trouble with separating the fact that the character has an XY position and also a rotation. Okay, so if I'm told to turn 360 degrees, I turn directly around and never move my feet. Okay? So the thing I do with this is I play Simon Says. So it's to really embody what the character that they're giving instructions to is going to do. I have the students pair program, so they're working together, and when they get stuck on something where they're trying to draw something out, I have one of them stand up and the other one give directions. And when someone tells you to turn 360 degrees, you don't draw a circle, right? So here's another example, another typical thing. Oh, you know, I had my students draw a square. Let me have them draw a triangle. So I have the same format. I give it an initial position. I put the pen down so that it draws. And I'm going to repeat this 3 times, right? Because I have a triangle, and there are 3 edges. And each edge is going to have the length 200. Okay, this is looking good. Do I turn 60 degrees? Oh, I've heard that before, right? Triangles, the angles are 60 degrees. Equilateral triangles are 60 degrees. Or here, this crazy person wrote that I need to turn 120 degrees. Do people have a good sense? Let's go thumbs that direction. Thumbs up 60 degrees, thumbs down 120. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I see some 120s and I see some non-voters. And so what I do with students is say, okay, well, I'm your sprite. So I'm going to walk forward and I'm going to walk my 200 steps forward for the first leg of my triangle. And here's the thing that works for me is, am I going to turn more than 90 degrees or less than 90 degrees? Like, should I be facing in this direction or kind of back in this direction? Okay, so the reasoning technique that I see students being really successful doing is this more or less than 90 degrees? And so building on that idea of, is this more or less than 90 degrees, to help them figure out the angles that they need for regular polygons. I want to teach another kind of magical thing about how characters move in this world. It's bizarre, right? Because in triangles, we think about the internal angles are 60 degrees. But if I'm telling a character to trace those paths, I need to give them these external angles. And it is true, if I'm creating a regular polygon, and or maybe not even a regular polygon, just a closed polygon where I loop around once, that means I have turned a total of 360 degrees. All the time, always, every one of them. Okay? And so what I do is I have students say, oh, make me a square. Okay, make me a triangle. Okay, make me a pentagon. Right? And eventually they do it by guess and check, right? Which, getting 6th graders to have really meaningful experience with guess and check is kind of cool. And also they can start to develop the pattern where the square, we divided it by 4 and we got 90. So in each turn, in the triangle, I turn 3 times, I need to turn a total of 360 degrees. So it just becomes a math problem for each one of these. The hexagon, the decagon, and so in general, it's 360 degrees divided by the number of sides. Think about a 5-sided star. So I need to go here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and back and face the same direction. It's really, really hard to do the 5-sided star by guess and check. But if you just recognize, well, in a square I turn 360 degrees, and in a 5-sided star I actually turn around twice. So I just need to take 720 and divide it by however many times I need to turn. Okay? So the total turn theorem is very helpful in the secret behind the guess and check work some of your students might do. And I think it's just another beautiful piece that I want to highlight is, like, there's a lot of meaningful engagement with the mathematics of it, the angles, the geometry of the situations, and instead of you needing to tell them that their answer is wrong, sorry, it's not 60 degrees, they can experience that, and the computer says, oh, well, I told it to turn 60 degrees at each turn, and it didn't do what I wanted. So they have an external mechanism for feedback.
Colleen, if I could say something right there too.
Yeah.
We did that exercise in CS10, and I had a lot of students say that they weren't math people and they didn't want to do this problem and they couldn't do this problem. But they got really excited when they figured it out. Like really, multiple students got very excited when they figured out they could, about the whole total angle theorem, draw any shape they wanted type business.
Yeah, and so I get my 6th grade students to make a general program that takes one argument, which is the number of sides, and then draw that shape. And so it's empowering them. Right?
So 6th grade kids haven't had geometry yet, right?
They certainly
they have this.
They know regular polygons.
They know about angles.
They know about angles. They know regular polygons.
And they know about 90 degrees.
Okay.
90 degrees is a real strength. Even 180 and 360, they get some of the ones in between. Mainly they're reasoning from more or less than 90 degrees.
Depends upon what school you're talking about.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.